Peace, love, and joy. What's good, YouTube? It's Kareem Samdi, back again with another video. Alright, so today I'm going to get into the importance of protecting your sexual energy as a man. It is very important, especially in today's society, if you're a man, to be protecting your sexual energy. Even if you're a woman, it is very important to be protecting your sexual energy as well. But I'm speaking to the men in this video, and the women can listen on too, because obviously women deal with men on a daily basis. So when a woman has a man that is focusing on his spirituality, that is focusing on becoming the best version of himself, she wants to know how exactly to contribute and to see things from his perspective, to maybe give him some pointers to uplift him, and controlling and using his sexual energy for benefit rather than for loss. So what I want to get into regarding the importance of protecting your sexual energy as a man, see, we really got to be conscious of what we're doing with our sexual energy, because, you know, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to consciousness, it is a larger thing than just what you've been dealing with throughout the rest of your life. It's been a larger thing. It's always been a larger thing. It's always been a bigger thing than just, you know, sexual connection, busting nuts. It's much larger than that. There's bigger things that are involved with your sexual energy. And this is why I tell men, practice NoFap, practice semen retention, especially when you're just coming into the spirituality, just coming into consciousness. You want to practice these things. And in general, all men, whether you're spiritual or not, you should be practicing NoFap, right? Because I want to talk on porn real quick. Porn is one of those things that it's meant to attack your sexual energy. And the only way that porn can truly attack a man's sexual energy and limit him is if he allows it to. And so you have to be honest with yourself that every time you watch porn, there is a deficiency possibly going on with the way that you perceive a lot of things. And the reason why porn becomes a dependency for men and an addiction for men is simply because of the fact that they have let go of certain parts of themselves, and they feel that they can fill those parts of themselves and fulfill those needs by having porn as a substitute. See, it's the same thing for people who smoke weed so they can feel like they're happy when they're down, so they can get high when they're feeling down. See, there's a big problem. And so porn is just like weed in that sense. It's a different high for you to meet different needs for you. And the sexual need is one of the most powerful needs, one of the most powerful energies. It is the most powerful energy because it's our creative energy. It's our creative energy as men. It's the women's creative energy as well. The sexual energy of a man can populate the entire United States, you know, and that's just with one sperm cell. That's just with one sperm cell. So like, we have to really take into account how powerful that is. And so what porn does to a man's psychology, what it does to a man's brain, is that subconsciously a man is most likely watching porn because he has nothing else better to fill his time with. And there's no women there to fill the time with, or he can't invite a woman to fill the time with him, right? And so it's almost like saying that you can't have. It's almost like giving your subconscious mind the symbol of lack, the lack of women, the lack of being able to find things to fill that time with. And so porn takes that role for you. It steps into that role for you. And this may not always be the reason, right? Because there's a plethora of reasons why men may watch porn. Some watch it for escapism, to escape the reality that they're dealing with, to have stress relief, right? But that's just another thing that's going to reinforce to your mind that you can't produce those things for yourself. And so you begin to create an inner matrix for yourself by relying on things like porn, which exists outside of you, for stress relief. By relying on porn for sexual fulfillment. Did you know that you can have sexual fulfillment without actually going to porn, right? And you can produce that all within. You can always produce anything within. So porn is removing key elements from a man's psychology, from a man's ability to connect with women. And there's a lot of themes pushed in porn that limit a man's capacity, that will limit a man's ability to to experience intimacy. And even just the way that porn is structured is meant to limit the sacral chakra's ability to connect with others and to understand others, because it categorizes people. And any category that you put yourself in is nothing more than a label, and it's nothing more than reinforcing separation. But porn does that for people. It limits a man's ability to really connect. And when you're spending all that creative energy busting gallons of nut, you begin to reproduce, because your seed, like I've said in other videos, your seed always creates something as a man, whether it's a baby or not. So you must be conscious of that every time you release as a man. Spiritually, you are always creating something. You are always creating a reality, or somebody's manipulating you to create a reality for you if you're not in control of your mind. So when you're going off at porn, busting gallons of nut, you are reproducing more lust. If you have a dependency on porn, or you seek sexual fulfillment through porn because it seems like things aren't exactly working out for you in the sexual domain, you begin to rely on porn. You begin to deify porn as a means to seek those fulfillments. This is why I say men are being psychologically targeted, spiritually targeted through porn. See, and the only way that porn can really bind you is if you forget that element of yourself, right? Because like I said, the outer matrix is powerless. It has no effect on you as long as you have control over your inner matrix, control over yourself. But if you don't have control over yourself, this is what happens. Addictions begin, dependency begins, and a whole lot of other problems begins. And this is exactly, see, the way that I just described, any insecurities or any lack that you have, any part of your life that you are lacking in, there's always going to be something outside of you to push, so that you begin to rely on that, so that you begin to buy into that and give your power over to that. There's always going to be something outside. That's why they say that this is a matrix, because if you don't have the power within to generate all that you need, then you are going to rely on things outside of you to generate that for you. You're going to confide in things outside of you to generate that for you. And this is why porn can lead a man down a dark path, because when a man does go down that path of excessive porn use, right? He does go down that path of fulfillment only through porn, but not through connecting with a woman. He begins to isolate a part of himself. He's isolating himself from the divine feminine. He's isolating himself from the yin energy. He's not producing enough yin energy within him, and the yang energy is too high. So a man is losing out on a lot of spiritual connection here, and his energy is not moving properly. So that's essentially what porn can really do to a man, and that's how it limits you, because all that time that you spend, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's 2 hours watching porn, scrolling through Instagram, looking at bad bitches and shit, right? All that time that you spend doing that, you could have spent meditating and connecting with your higher self in that 10 minutes, in that 15 minutes. You could have spent that time making a video on YouTube, talking about shit that you want to talk about, doing things that are in line with your purpose, whatever it might be. You could have spent that 10, 15 minutes, 2 hours doing that, 3 hours for some people, possibly more, depending on who you are, how much you spend time doing that shit. And even if it's only 10 minutes a day, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, let's say you spend that 5 minutes every day of the year watching porn. That's 5 minutes, 5 times 365. That's a lot of time wasted. That's hours wasted on porn. So we really have to be cognizant of not just how much time you're losing, but how much life you're using, because life is tied to time. Time is nothing more than a measurement for life. So the same way that I said before, jobs are slavery, right? When you're wasting all your time at a job that doesn't serve you, that doesn't serve your spiritual purpose, right? When you're wasting all that time doing things like porn, watching porn, you are wasting your life. You're wasting your life force, and you're wasting your time. See, every man needs to be cognizant of how his sexual energy is being exploited, right? Because if all it takes is a nice looking woman to distract you, then how could you ever focus on anything higher than just that? How could you ever focus on parts of a woman that are deeper than just her looks? You know, and that's another thing, because watching porn can also induce approach anxiety, confidence issues for men, because they're too busy in looking at the sexual aspects of a woman, but they're not actually actively getting out there and connecting with women, talking to women. Too busy looking at a woman from afar, fulfilling the sexual needs from afar. That's an imbalance of the yang energy. See, when you have the yin energy, you are bringing things in, generating, right? So you want to have a balance with your energy rather than expending it all the time. You don't want to raise too much yang energy, because then you won't be able to connect. And there's deeper layers to a woman than just the way that she looks. A lot of men are only okay with looking at a woman but never actually making that connection. And porn could be one of those things that contributes to that. Of course, yeah, a lot of people have traumas. Everyone has a trauma, right? Depending on who you are. You know, and that can affect a man's confidence depending on what happened. It affected mine, you know. Going through life, you know, I when I approached someone that I liked, I remember I had gotten embarrassed by her friend in front of everybody in my school when I was a kid. I got cursed out and everything. The girl didn't say anything, but it was her friend, and that's embarrassing for a kid. And for a while, that did give me confidence issues, but I got over that. I healed from that. That's not me anymore, right? But that's a different situation. So we all have our traumas, and the importance of protecting your sexual energy can be tied to these things, right? You don't want to waste your sexual energy on things that just don't serve you. That's why semen retention is so important. That's why NoFap is so important. If you're not distracting yourself, right? You know, what does porn really give you back? If it doesn't give you anything back, it's a distraction. You know, this universe operates off of exchange. If all porn gives you back is a nut, which is a very, very low form of an orgasm, by the way. You know, you can have orgasms on higher levels than just ejaculation, but you won't know that if you constantly bust gallons of nut to porn, wasting your energy, wasting your life, wasting your time, right? It's very key. A lot of people sleep on NoFap, a lot of people sleep on semen retention and say that it's silly, but you are raising light within you when you detach from this matrix, when you detach from these things that might be holding you back. All you have to do is try 7 days, NoFap and semen retention. Let me know what those effects that you get are. See, I went 100 days semen retention and NoFap. My spiritual awakening happened within that 100 days. I was never the same again. And even now in No Nut November, I'm still going strong. Like, I'm on semen retention right now. Yeah, I got chicks, you know, but it's a different thing, because they understand how the sexual energy works for me, right? When you have the right people in your life that support these things, that understand how the sexual energy works, then you are also complimented on your journey, complimented on your spiritual journey, complimented on your sexual alchemy, right? Sexual alchemy is a very key component in our ability to create as gods. You can't be a god if you feel like you have to go to porn all the time for sexual fulfillment. That's hypocrisy, right? You can't tap into that god energy being tied to lower things. You know, one thing that's attracted to you distracts all your focus, right? And in a way, it's kind of like a mind control. All a man has to do is see something attractive, and he's already off his purpose. He's already breaking his neck. That's mind control. And so we got to really be aware of that. And when we build up energy, when we build up light through semen retention, and we actually raise that energy, we raise that spiritual energy, you know, from the lower chakras to the higher chakras through meditation. Montauk Chia's book talks about that. When we raise that energy up into our higher chakras and we store it for creativity, we store it for confidence, we store it for power, we store it for whatever it may be that's going to benefit us and bring us prosperity, right? Instead of wasting it, that's when we create on a higher level. And this is why a lot of men aren't feeling inspired. They're not feeling motivated because their creative energy is gone. And the more that you waste that creative energy, yeah, you might not feel it in your 20s. You might not feel it in your 30s. Oh, but you'll feel it in your 40s and your 50s if you live that long, wasting your seed all the time. Oh yeah, you'll feel it. You think these low testosterone counts just happened out of nowhere? You think that there's no real leaders out there for men? Like how there was before in the early 1900s, like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Elijah Muhammad. You think that there's no types of leaders like that now? You think that's all by mistake? That's by design. Men with ideas that are creating on a larger scale, manipulating their sexual energy. That's by design. So that most men can't break out of the matrix. If you're focused on ass and titties all the time, yeah, you're not going to be focused on your purpose. I can bet money on that. On anyone. Anyone who's focused on ass and titties all the time, guarantee you they're not creating on a higher level. They're not consistent. Because they don't value it more than they value ass and titties. More than they value watching porn. Distracting themselves. Same way that some men just don't value that over a lot of other bullshit that men have been caught up into. That are distractions from self-development. Distractions from their consciousness. TV. Tell lies to your vision. The news. Politics. Debate. But when are men actually stepping up to the plate to create? There's not a lot of them that I see. And the ones that I do see are being ostracized, or not enough men take them seriously enough to emulate that. Creating on that high of a level. See, and that's perfectly fine, because the truth isn't for everybody to take. The truth isn't for everybody to understand. But the men that are creating on those levels, they will continue to be the rulers. They will continue to be the creators. And the other men, they're as good as dead. Because in this world, you are either conscious or you are dead. That's it. You're either moving up or you're staying down in this matrix. There's no other way to put it. You either know or you don't know. You either know thyself or you don't know thyself. You either know the truth or you don't know the truth. And that's real, right? When we talk about transmuting sexual energy, it is more than just connecting with women sexually. You are connecting with women on a higher level, on a higher plane that doesn't involve tying yourself down to your lust. If a man can't control his lust, he cannot control his life. If a man can't control his dick, he can't control his life. Like I said, if you can't control your mind, somebody's going to control it for you. If all it takes is ass and titties to keep you controlled and whipped into the shape, you are not in control as a man. You too focused on booty. You're a booty warrior. That's what you are. So, and that's key. That's very key. You can either be a booty warrior or you can be a god. And the difference between those two is one has control over his sexual energy and his urges and his lust, and the other does not. And trust me, gods can have fun too. But gods are not addicted to porn. Gods aren't hooked on porn like that. They can create, they can generate, and they have goddesses by their side. But you can't have that if you're too tied to these low ideas. See, gods are creators. If you're not creating as a man, if you're not manipulating your sexual energy as a man, and you don't understand it as a man, you are not doing anything. You might as well kill yourself because you are basically already dead. If you're a man wasting his creative energy. If honestly, even if it doesn't even have to just do with NoFap and semen retention, it doesn't have to just do with porn, because you can waste your creativity being in places that you are not supposed to be in. You're wasting your creativity being at that job. Unless, of course, you're using that job to fund where you're going as a man, right? There's nothing wrong with working a job as long as you have a purpose behind it and it's driving you to go to that job every day. And if your purpose is that job, then stay doing that job. But if your purpose isn't that job and you're looking to create things on your own, create your own reality in this matrix, beyond this matrix, that's gonna break this matrix, and you're spending all your creative energy busting your ass at that job, letting it take your time, which is also your life, by the way, but letting it take your time from you during your productive hours of the day, where your sexual energy is the highest. If you're letting your job do all that to you, or your job has the opportunity to do that because you're giving it so much time, then yeah, you're not in control of your sexual energy. You are destroying your sexual energy, because all of it's being transmuted into things outside of you, things that don't serve you. Of course you should work a job. I said that in the root chakra video. You should work a job. If you haven't built anything yet, work your job and get the materials to start building. You have to lay the foundations, especially if you're a young man in your 20s. If you're a young man in your 20s, you shouldn't be worried about women. Not unless you got it all together and you going somewhere. You don't need to be worried about women. Get everything together and the women will come. That's real. You know, that's how you attract. You attract things because you step into a position of being. When you're being your best self, your highest self, you attract things that serve your best self and your highest self. So you can't attract those things being hooked on porn. I promise you that. You can't attract those things being hooked on sex all the time, focusing on sex all the time. If your mindset is where the hoes at all day, then you're not attracting anything, nigga. You are not. You can't attract anything because you're too busy seeing it outside of you. See, you have to see the allure of who you are within, the allure of what you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be, the allure of your highest self, and be that. That's the only thing that you should be chasing. And really, you don't even have to chase it. It's all within. This is how deep the sexual energy really goes. And if you're not in control of your sexual energy, I best believe me, it will be exploited. And for most men, it already has been. And the only way to get that back is to go within and to retain and get it all back. But you can't get it all back being focused and hooked on these things outside of you. We must be honest with ourselves as men, because if we're not going anywhere. You need to rebalance that energy within you and take it all back. Take your life back, take your time back. That's very key. So that's what I gotta say about the importance of the male sexual energy. I wish you all luck in your journey, and I hope this video inspired you guys and motivated you guys to become the best version of yourself and look into the sexual energy and understand it, because it's very key. You cannot waste this. You cannot not pay attention to this. This is very key to your creativity. So I wish you all luck in your journey, and peace.